Excuse me, I'm next in line. Move. Excuse me, I'm next in line. Watch out. Excuse me, I'm next in line. I said move. Excuse me, I'm next in line.
And today we're going to start off with what irks me, right? Got it? Alright. So we're working with some new tech, trying to make sure we figure out how it works. But yeah, so today we're going to start with the what irks me. So lately, what's been bothering me is TV shows ending without letting you know that they're ending, right? And why that irks me is, as an otaku, I watch a lot of anime, right? Just lots of anime. I think I watch about 13 or 14 different series that I keep up with on a weekly basis. Most of them release on certain days, but generally you have certain days of the week you're going to check so you can binge watch as many episodes as you can. But it seems like more and more of these series don't announce season finales, right? They also don't end when like the arc seems like it's gonna end, so you're thinking there are more episodes. So what an arc is pretty much one part of a story being told, a beginning, middle, ending, but not the ending of a series or a season. Like if there's a bad guy, they finally fight the bad guy and they beat him, right? So you would figure the episode where they beat the bad guy, maybe even the episode after would be the ending of the arc. So you're thinking that's the ending of a season. No. They give you 2 or 3 more episodes full of nonsense that seems completely and utterly irrelevant, maybe possibly even setting up another season, and stop. And why this really irks me is that today is a day that I like to normally like get the last few notes of the show together, calculate the stuff for the fans of the week, and while I do so, I play my anime in the background. There's a show called Radiant that I was really into. It's about a guy who like gets all of these powers through his hands instead of through a wand because he lives in a witch society, and they fight monsters, right? This story had like 2 arcs put together into one. It made no sense really how it got to where it got to, but it was so exciting you didn't care. And when they finally decide to cut off the rest of the season, it's on an episode that doesn't seem like it's the beginning or ending of anything. But it's not the first one. It's just the most recent one. And it really upset me because I had a tradition in the last few weeks of watching a sumo show right before that show, and then after that show watching another show. So I keep checking on this Radiant thing the past like week or so, and it just isn't there, and it irks me. Like, that's not there. It's messing up my rhythm. Like, you know, the way I have things set up. It's the worst. But it's not just that. There are other shows where you're just like, this is the season finale. You know, there are other shows that have been like CW when they do that mid-season finale thing, and then you find out like some of them kind of got canceled afterwards, and you're like, wait, there was so much more to go. There was like the last show on CW that really hurt that was the season finale episode, especially when like it turned into the series finale, the Tomorrow People, right? They literally ended the entire thing with like this guy able to freeze the entire timeline and the world and everything, and then they're like, yeah, that's it. Like, wait, what? Like, can you at least wrap up how this particular scene ends? We don't need another story. Just like end this right there. Or the most famous series finale that was completely wrong was Angel for me, where like they summon the Wolfram in the heart. There's a dragon flying around. You know, even Angel's like, I got the dragon. You're like, yes, they're gonna fight a dragon. They're gonna fight a horde of orcs, and they just charged into the blackness as if it was the Sopranos. The Sopranos with the gunshot. Like, just finish a story, please. You know, and end with the story completed. You know, let us know that this is an ending. Even if you want to tag on, there will be more. But just give us a complete ending before you cut us off, right? Let us know that the ending of this is that and whatever. Put season finale, put whatever you need to put. Let us know. Give us the notification so that way we can like take it all in stride, like enjoy it. Because as a viewer, as someone who's enjoyed hours of television and millions of shows and stuff like that, like I like that idea that that's the conclusion, right? I don't start a story to not know how the hell it ends. It's irksome not to know how it ends, right? Like, there are people who will go and jump to find out the ending of a book without ever knowing the beginning, because the ending is so important that you have to end on the right note. And it's been irking me, more anime, more TV shows, that whole like cliffhanger nonsense. I'm okay with it if there's a part 2. I'm okay with it if it leads into a finale. I'm okay with it if you wrap up one full story and it's the setup to where things go, right? Like, a good show gives you a season finale that ends the entire point to that season, but lets you know where you're going to go into the next season, right? The Flash is infamous for this. That is how a show should be. But at least we have the story we've been watching wrapped up without being led on to think that there could be more. And on that note, we're going to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, the no full news and views.
Let's go! I've been rocking, I've been popping, I've been drop topping from whip whopping, I've been moving weight, now I'm hella straight, I've been counting guap while I'm getting top, I've been that keyless entry, then push start, then my engine sounded like a race car and I'm gone. My hat low with my seat leaning, that old knives, I'm street dreaming. These haters sick, they willy beaming, that's whoa. That's whoa. Like Black Robin, you know the name, Miss MF. Over everything, my pocket's puffy like Diddy's name, Miss Lick. She likes you, but she loves us. Yo, lame now, trying to handcuff. It's too late, you can't save her, she's gone. I've been rocking, I've been popping, I've been drop topping from whip whopping, I've been moving weight, now I'm hella straight, I've been counting guap while I'm getting top, I've been putting on for my city blocks. I'm the next one to make my city pop. I am. These rap niggas got the whole city hot. Damn. Same the popping bottles at the 2 spot. That's him. My white tee say sucker free and you sucking me. Keep with him like you're so good, he didn't tell on me, you a clown. That's why I slide through and give a head nod. I don't hop out so we can chop it up and get a mouthful like I'm good. I've been rocking, I've been popping, I've been drop topping from whip whopping, I've been moving weight, now I'm hella straight, I've been counting guap while I'm getting top, I've been. Let's go. I don't chase hoes, I chase the baby. I chase it. That's the only thing that these hoes play to. I'm oven heavy, it's almost ready. Just tell me when, then drop a pin. I'm a black Jew, have every penny. I'm coming. It's worth the wait, I got fireworks. Get a heavy stuck, looking up at the sky like they're letting off fireworks. That's facts. My track record, better fact check it. I was counting up, she got air naked, though face first in my midsection. Legit. I've been rocking, I've been popping, I've been drop topping from whip whopping, I've been. You see it. Moving weight, now I'm hella straight, I've been. You see it. Counting guap while I'm getting top, I've been. I've been rocking, I've been popping, I've been. Drop topping from whip whopping, I've been. You see it. Moving weight, now I'm hella straight, I've been. You see it. Counting guap while I'm getting top, I've been.
Alright, so we're back, we're good? Audio okay? Alright. So frankly, I'm gonna start off with a little bit of bad news for people, right? And it's that you're definitely gonna be having raised MetroCard fare. Like, it's a definite. So why? Because a couple things been happening.
Silence!
Oh.
I kill you!
No. It's not my fault. It's MTA's fault. I didn't do it. Nah, so this particular week, a couple of things happened that are of note. And I bring this up because a few weeks back we had the delay on whether they're going to vote to increase prices, and that was a little bit of good news. Well, no, the delay was just a delay. It's definitely happening now. So last week we were talking about how de Blasio says he has some ways to fix MTA, and pretty much this has led into a pissing contest between him and Cuomo, between who's stronger, the city or the state government, that sort of thing. And Cuomo's gotten to the point where he's just like, look, Bill, if you want to deal with MTA, then you have to pay for it. Now, if the city has to pay for MTA, where the city doesn't get as much funding as the state because the state gives us part of their funding, that includes the rest of the state from the government, well, that means that our prices are definitely jumping to what probably Metro North is now. So let's hope that de Blasio stops trying to be governor when he's only a mayor. Besides that, MTA... Yeah! Exactly. Besides that, MTA actually lost a lawsuit this week. Supposedly, they've been renovating different staircases at different stations, and the Disability Act of America states that when you have to renovate staircases and entrance, I guess, like public entrances, you have to include accessibility for disabled people. So in this case, they're talking elevators as well. So with less than 25% of train stations actually having access for those who are disabled, be it wheelchair stuff or elevator things, the whole, like rights for disability people group sued MTA, and the federal government was kind of like, yeah, you guys been breaking the law for quite some time. So MTA just lost a ton of money legitimately. So now when they say they don't have no money, you can blame all the people who are in wheelchairs who don't just take Accessoride, right? Like blame the Scripples for why your MTA fare is about to go up. I can say that because they literally just took the money out of MTA, who's already claiming they're not making enough money. So, again, people, if you are old, if you are crippled, if you have whatever disability means that you're not able to swipe a gold card through the turnstile to get on the train, there is this wonderful car service called Accessoride, right? And you can choose what kind of Accessoride you want. There's Maggie's, there's GVC, there's a whole bunch of these companies that go in your borough, that go out of borough, that can take you wherever you have to go. And it doesn't increase the rest of our fares. All right? It's built just for you. We can't take it. Just those of you who are unable to walk and hop on a train. It's just for you. Please use it. Please, please, please keep people employed and stop raising our prices. We don't need elevators. The lazy rich white folk like to use them because they're too lazy for stairs. But most of us that have to hop on it, we're trying to get to work, we're running late anyway, we do not need elevators. Those things hardly work, and it's a new place for bums to piss in. All right? We just take the stairs. If you can't take the damn stairs, take Accessoride. And it comes to your door. Even better. You don't even have to get to the train station. It comes to your door. Leave the rest of us alone. You just screwed us out of our quarter that we could have saved in our pocket. All right? You just did that. You screwed us out of a quarter a ride. Understand that. That's why I'm yelling at you. You suck. The other thing is that the city bus system is also being called extremely slow. So because of that, they're trying to figure out new ways to increase bus routes and this and whatever. Look, all it means is that they're going to be pumping more monies from our pockets into theirs, and they're going to say they did something, right? The only bus line in the city that was given an A rating, like it's a valid, it keeps to its schedule and it goes where it got to go, is the Q52, which means that maybe you don't need to take the bus when you're only going 10 blocks half the time, like most of Manhattan does. Maybe you just kind of need to hop on a train and learn to walk, because that's usually how I get everywhere faster than those of you waiting at bus stops. Just walking and actually using my legs and perhaps losing some weight and exercising, which a lot of Americans need to do anyway. Because unless you're going to the Queens Center Mall, taking that Q52, you're getting nowhere fast. And frankly, there's no real way to speed up bus scheduling. I'm sorry, there's no way. You can run more buses all you want. You can run buses every minute if you want. This is New York City. Even the outer boroughs have traffic. We're not LA, thank God, but the buses aren't running slow. There's too many car drivers coming from out of state, this, that, and the third. You can't get around New York easy in a car. That's why we have a transit system. That's why the transit system is so great. Even when it's slow, it's still better than driving around the city. You try driving around when everybody's trying to go to work. Just try it. Try it. See if you get anywhere real quick. Yeah, we're not talking like 3 o'clock in the morning. And depending on where you are at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's still kind of crowded certain places. Like, that's just New York. It's New York, the city that literally never sleeps. Sorry, folks. Outside of that, it's the 150th anniversary of the Museum of Natural History, or the American Museum of Natural History, right? So for their big anniversary this week, and they held a big exhibit all about the T-Rex, right? Because the only part in history anybody cares about is dinosaurs. And the only dinosaur anybody cares about is the T-Rex. If you don't believe me, ask me why there's a T-Rex in every Jurassic Park movie possible. Be it the monster or the hero, the T-Rex is the king of dinosaurs. Even when it's not. I mean, if you really actually go and look at this thing, or just Google, you'll find that the T-Rex probably wasn't the most badass carnivore in history. And in fact, the Velociraptor is probably way more badass. It's just not as big. Just putting that out there. Little fun fact for you, little nerddom that we all kind of need sometimes. But no, in all seriousness, it's definitely something to check out. And they haven't, I mean, the Museum of Natural History in general is a really great place in New York. I'm not trying to do a cheesy promo, but all in all, one thing I like to do normally when the weather is warmer is go to different places. They usually have like free days and stuff like that. So I would recommend going there, seeing, you know, the big old blue whale that's down there, and just seeing all the different exhibits. But I mean, guys, it's 150 years. I think about that. It's 150 years that this is like this big building in the middle of Manhattan has been around, right? And has been providing information and knowledge, and you know, in 150 years, the things that it's kind of had to probably correct over itself, right? Because science is always proving it was wrong. So this is one of the most big buildings, one of the most established places, and probably forcibly one of the most humble in New York City. It's definitely worth going, if not during this exhibit, just to go at some point during this year and visit the Museum of Natural History, right? Currently, though, not at the Museum of Natural History, but at the Met, right? The Metropolitan Museum of Art. They have this exhibit that's about 1,000 years of fan fiction, right? This goes back to some of the first fan fiction that Japan ever had over 1,000 years ago. And it brings it from there into modern times. Now, to explain this to you a little bit, fan fiction is essentially when a fans kind of take a well-known story and, you know, build upon it, right? So you'll take characters from, you know, something more modern day. Let's take characters from Naruto, right? One of the biggest things in Naruto is that people joke about Naruto and Sasuke kind of being like, ooh, they actually like each other. They don't like the girls in the story. So there's tons of fans who wrote stories about Naruto and Sasuke falling in love with each other and, you know, finally getting together. Now, why? I don't know. I'm a writer. I like to write my own stories, but for some people, they like to just take the stories that they have and turn them into more. But fan fiction has been really popular. There are tons of message boards, tons of online things, and this display that they have at the Met is all about the history of it. So if you're a fan fiction writer, if you're someone who's into fan fiction, if you're someone who's interested in finding out more about it, definitely take a trip to the Met while the exhibit's going on right now, and you know, learn your history. It's some of the artwork there is actually really cool, and just finding out the origin stories for some of the fan fiction is actually interesting for me, because I'm really into, you know, history and mythology and that sort of stuff. So just kind of seeing why they were choosing certain stories, what made those stories so popular, and like why these people built these extra tales is fun for me as a writer to kind of get into. But you'll find out more both about fan fiction and just, you know, the history of certain things specifically from Japan when we introduce a new show coming soon to the LDM Network called Geekdom World. So stay tuned for that, and we're going to have some people to discuss that sort of thing that are fan fiction writers themselves and read tons and tons and tons of it from the message boards. So they'll put you onto a couple things yourself. Yeah, fanfics, right? But last but not least in local news that I wanted to bring up was that the Queens District Attorney is resigning from office because of medical reasons, which means two things. If you're someone who he didn't like, this is now your opportunity to make friends with the new guy. if if you're someone who was interested in running for district attorney, well, now there's a spot for you. Frankly, folks, when you have an open slot for someone who makes a lot of the official charges and okays a lot of the people getting into jail, this is a big choice, right? So for all the people who are going to be running, for all the people who are going to be able to vote in this and you know, take a pick, really pay attention to the candidates. Like, you can't take something like this lightly. Like, I'm not exactly, I'm into politics, but I'm not necessarily going to be going out there social justice warring myself in the freaking cold. I got a platform like this, might as well use it, right? I'm not going to tell you to ever vote for someone who claims to be part of one particular party. I'm never going to tell you to vote for somebody who has, you know, an agenda against yours, right? You can't exactly force yourself to vote for the lesser of two evils. If they're both evil and you feel like you don't need to vote, don't vote. If you feel that strongly, don't vote. Don't feel you have to force yourself to pick bad when they're two bad choices, right? And I mean, this is like this last presidential election, we lost either way. So, oh well. But I'm sorry. But in a situation where we're talking on a municipal, a borough, a city level, right? The person who kind of picks and chooses what laws are going to be most looked at, the person who picks and chooses what charges are going to be, you know, brought upon, what are they going to be, what are prosecutors going to be looking to really put people away for, that sort of thing. It's really big for a minority community to actually pay attention to voice their opinion, to try and get, you know, delegations on their side, because we don't need another Ronald Reagan administration, right? Where the war on drugs was #1 focus. Me having a bag of weed puts me away longer than me stealing, you know, a felony amount of money. It's silly, it's retarded, it's whatever. So as people are looking into who the next DA should be in Queens, it's an opportunity for you to pick someone who might be a bit more liberal, who might focus more so on violent crime, more so than on petty crime, and someone who will maybe acknowledge the fact that minors should probably be charged by, like, minors. Because in our community, those are probably the biggest issues that we have with what's being charged against us. And on that note, we're going to head to our next commercial break. And when we come back, some more national news. It's cool. Let it play out.
you wanna hut too. 3, 4, marching for the people. We observe the lethal words the chief is serving while he's swerving the PR people. And we can't find those equal rights, so we keep fever, sick and tired. We keep kneeling while we under fire. Yeah, they keep blazing, busting like the Fruitvale station, brazen disregard for these lives. Stop complaining, you ruining my pay vacation. This guy, I shoot off at the lip cause I miss love. Wish it was what it should be, but it's like a poor kid Christmas. Man, I love love, ain't seen it in a long time. Can I hold on my own, trying to get by? I remember love when it was what it should be. God, let's get back to what we could be.
And I know when love first, we'll be blessed and not cursed. In our hearts lies a thirst for his love. Love, 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 love. I don't care what hatred brings. Love can conquer everything. Love, 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 love. Can't you see what love can do? I know you can feel it too. From the river to the ocean, can you feel it? That's love. From the mountains to the valleys, can you feel it? Come and feel it. That's love. Feel the love. From the river to the ocean, can you feel it? Oh, I can feel it. That's love. Can you feel it? From the mountains, my brother, to the valleys, can you feel it? I'm a sister. That's love. Feel my love. From the river to the ocean, can you feel it? Let me love you. That's love. Feel the love. From the mountains, let me love you. To the valleys, we can
Isn't it?
change. Can you feel it?
All right, folks. So we're gonna start off with this beginning part is all a little sad actually. So first is Alex Trebek made a video. Honestly, I thought somebody was pranking me at first until I actually saw it in the news, the same exact video. But he's saying that he has one of the last stages of pancreatic cancer, and that he's just kind of gonna, tough it out like a G. I mean, if anybody's gonna do it, it's Alex Trebek. I don't know if anybody watches Jeopardy as religiously as my household, but this guy is probably one of the most sarcastic mofos ever. Every movie role he's done, his on the show itself, he's pretty, like he says in the video, he's been pretty clairvoyant with his life and who he is and things like that. And so, wish you the best of luck. Hopefully your treatment goes as well as Roman Reigns did. He recently took, a few months off of wrestling, went through his chemo and everything. He's back in remission, and doing his thing. So good luck to you, Alex. Hopefully the same for you. Also in sad news, wow. Luke Perry, who a lot of us know from 90210, and who the younger generation may know from his time on Riverdale, recently passed. He had a stroke, and a few days later, the complications from the stroke took him out. So, rip to him, and, well wishes to his family. Hopefully, y'all pull through. And the same for King Kong Bundy, who is known for his time in WWF, best known for his cage match against the legendary Hulk Hogan, making him a legend in his own right. And so, rest in peace to you, and well wishes to your family as well. Just a really sad week. But as far as, deaths and stuff, and it's been one of those weeks, man. It's like, I guess if there's a bad Friday, the rest of the week kind of just goes through. I don't know. And then, it happens in threes. I believe it was the lead singer from Prodigy who passed away from the UK band. So rip to him as well. It's just like, I don't know what it was, but this week was just a really weird week in general. I mean, even for me, it was a weird week personally. And then the other thing, so we're gonna move from that to something a little bit more lighthearted, but still weird. Bill de Blasio is facing a lot of controversy over his snow day call. So last Monday, New York was supposedly going to face a blizzard, and legitimately, it is the worst snowfall we had since November, probably the worst snowfall we had all winter. We've had a pretty lovely winter here in New York, despite 2 weeks of teen weather. But no, we haven't really dealt with much snow this past winter, and this storm looked big. It stayed strong, started the night before, continued into the early morning, and Bill gave a snow day. But by like 10 a.m., it wasn't snowing. There was but so much snow on the floor. Most of the streets have been iced up, which, testament to the trash guys pretty much doing their job after they got called out for not doing it in November. So a lot of back and forth about it. Frankly, for me, I wish I had a mayor like this back when I was a kid, right? We had days worse than this, and we still had to go to school. It was the worst. So frankly, Bill, I'm with you. Give the kids the time off. In all honesty, school is rough on young kids. I'm sorry if y'all don't agree, but school is mentally draining. It is. And any day a child can have off, especially if it means they don't have to go outside, they're not going to start snowball fights that actually have ice in it and accidentally hurt each other, and you get the day off from work too. Because if your kids are home, you normally have to be home. I know some of you are like, but I wanted to go to work and make that money. Nah, sometimes it's good to have that day where you're forced to be with your child indoors and bond. Good job, Bill. I'm with you. Nah, one of my favorite memes lately is one about, they put on Baby Shark at the club, and the DJ goes, y'all don't know nothing about this because y'all never with your kids anyway. Right. Like, that meme right there is exactly why y'all should appreciate the snow day with your children. Because it's true. Now, in better news than even that, Hillary Clinton is officially not running in 2020. I wish I only heard this in 2015. If she never said she was running in that election, I would have been a happy, happy camper. But at least she's not running in this one. So maybe Bernie does have a shot. But also, a big person who was going to enter the race, and as a Democrat, despite years of being independent, or Republican even, Mike Bloomberg, New York City mayor, said that he is not going to be running for the 2020 Democratic seat. He instead is going to be working on a environmental cleanliness, ozone layer, nonsense kind of campaign thing over the next few years, which to me, I'm kind of like, maybe he just realized that Bernie Sanders is the Jew everybody wants, because ain't nobody looking to have Mike Bloomberg as our president. We weren't even sure how he got to be mayor 3 times. It just kind of happened. We didn't know you could be mayor 3 times. It just kind of happened. Like, yeah, I remember the only person I remember running against Mike Bloomberg was, I believe, Mike Green was his name, right? And you had Green versus Bloomberg, and that was the first time Bloomberg ran. He just continued to be mayor, and no one really knew who was running against him, or why anyone was, or why he was mayor for so long, but he was. I mean, like, that 3rd term thing, I think he had to, like, make a law to make himself able to do it for 3 terms, and then they made a law to rebuke the law that made him the 3rd term mayor while he was the 3rd term mayor. It was weird. We don't really like to think about it. Pretty much the city didn't fall apart, so we just kind of let it rock. And it wasn't like a Giuliani fiasco with the police, so we just kind of, like, whatever, he's doing things. But yeah, so that was some really good news for me, knowing that Hillary Clinton realized that no one wants to see her face anymore. This is great news. And now for all of the fun stuff, because I love the fun stuff, right? So first and foremost, I think the biggest thing to hit the internet this week was R. Kelly, right? They're now saying that R. Kelly is the new crying face. It is no longer Michael Jordan. They are saying that R. Kelly is a fool. R. Kelly did get out on bail at one point this week for finally paying up like over $100,000 in child support. So he wasn't arrested anymore. He has other charges that are put on him from a more recent case with a young woman. Like, R. Kelly's been a mess this week, but to tip it all off, right? To tip it all off was his interview with Gayle King. Now, there's a lot for me to digest about the interview with Gayle King. Like, why the hell is Gayle King the one to talk to R. Kelly about this? Like, who the hell is she? Isn't she just Oprah's friend? Like, what exactly does she do? What makes her relevant at all to anything? Like, why wasn't it Oprah herself? I feel like if I was R. Kelly, I wouldn't even have done the interview if they told me it was Gayle doing the interview. Like, wait, it's not even Oprah? Like, I don't even get to sit down with Oprah and plead my case? Like, I gotta talk to Gayle? One, that has to let you know, too, that Oprah is just pissed off at you, right? So if Oprah's mad at you in the black community, like, you know you're going to jail, right? I'm just putting that out there, right? If Oprah can't even defend you, you going to jail. So R. Kelly, like, you should have known, like, this isn't your last chance to plead. This is like, you're screwed. You're done. Gayle's there. It's over. You didn't get Barbara Walters, you didn't get Diane Sawyer, and you didn't get Oprah. You're done. Now, after that, he just proceeds to just go on these long rants, crying, talking about, I didn't do it, this isn't me, they're trying to destroy me, my legacy, and it was just really pathetic. I think the only thing I've seen that was more pathetic was Tyrese pleading to his baby mama and telling that he loves his daughter in a really sexually creepy way, which makes it so much more R. Kelly related, right? But I honestly just think that the interview should have never been done. Like, at all. There's no more reason to be talking about R. Kelly at this point. For over 20 years, y'all fools been bumping and grinding to his bumping and grinding of young women. For all these years, he's been telling you he's been doing what he's doing, and y'all just decided to kick it to the beat. At this point, let's see if he just beats the charges, and other than that, let it rock. Put it in the back. Let the man live. Let him be the disgusting little bastard he was. Let him be the disgusting little bastard that they thought MJ was, which is another thing. For some reason, people are talking about reopening some of the Michael Jackson cases. Homeboy's dead. Let it rock. And we all know he didn't do it. That boy is probably the most asexual human being in the world. We all know that Blanken is some sort of test tube baby, and probably the only of his 3 children that is actually of his DNA. Like, we all know this. This is like general knowledge that, you know, everybody just needs to know. Let Michael live. Let R. Kelly live. Like, just let it rock. Just let it go. Let it be what it is. Thank you. See, even JT has my back. JT, Lance, Chris, Joey, and JC. You look at that. I know my NSYNC. I grew up with them. That was my group. I wasn't Backstreet Boys. I was NSYNC all day, you know. But yeah, let's let it all go, folks. Just let it rock. I don't know why people are still talking about that. And the interview was just really bad. R. Kelly, why would you do that to yourself? Like, you don't try and clear your name and make yourself look like more of an idiot. You just don't do it. It's not how it's supposed to go. Other than him, though, I wanted to talk about Mr. Zuckerberg, right? Facebook man, because Mr. Zuckerberg's been messing with me the last few days, right? So Facebook's been talking about how their new agenda is going to be focused on privacy, which at this point means nothing unless you're a 13-year-old just getting on Facebook. Because all of us have already had all of our information put out there. If you've never made a Facebook because you're young enough that Snapchat was around and maybe you were a Vine kid or whatever, you're fortunate unless you have an Instagram because that's Facebook associated and all your information has been put out there, right? Facebook does not need to work on privacy. I don't care what anybody talks about. It's the internet. Once you join the internet, once you have the balls to put your name, your address, and your whatever on the internet for anything, be it a credit card or this or that, you yourself have now put yourself on the internet, meaning that your data, your information, whether it's on a secured site or not, can be monitored by a select few people or a whole conglomerate business. That's just what that is the basic risk of using the internet. I'm not worried about privacy stuff on the internet. I'm really not. You know, the most I want my privacy monitored is my password, right? I don't want people to be able to log into my accounts, but if they want to steal my freaking picture and make a fake profile of me, cool. Like, go ahead, try your best to ruin me. There's nothing for you to really ruin. I'm not that famous. And I have my original account and the history to verify that that's the original account, which that's the other great part about the internet. All the history is saved. So when they start that second profile, their IP address, the stuff that's logged on your Facebook page, whatever, it'll all prove that it came after your original account. So there's nothing really to worry about. It's like when credit card fraud happens and there are a bunch of these charges in these states you've never been to, and all you have to tell the bank is, I live in this state, and they're like, oh yeah, we should have got that sooner. And you get your money back. Like, it's like that. And even less complicated, because banks like to be a-holes about it. Way less complicated. So he's so focused on privacy now, which is way too late. The Russians already have the information. It's retarded. I say Facebook needs to focus on actually Facebook post, right? Let people post stuff. Be consistent. I see tons of stuff on Facebook all the time that the original post is never taken down. How they never find the host or this or that, don't ask me, because frankly, when a page gets deleted, the posts that are with it are supposed to get deleted too, or blocked or unsendable, that sort of thing, right? So even if it's like the page was deleted but the stuff was on the web, that's not how it works, folks. Deleted page, deleted post. Boom. But yet these posts get put around, the original post never deleted, but the people who shared it get put in Facebook jail? Huh? You have these different rules and regulations, but inconsistent use of actually using it, right? Now, supposedly, the computer system is bent to determine whether there's a bias this out of the third. You put in your appeal, a human talks to it, you put in your appeal again, and then a final verdict is ruled. Doesn't make much sense, because if I post up something that's graphic, and a science page posts up something that's graphic, why is the science page stuff not taken down, but mine is? I'm not talking violent, I'm talking graphic, right? We're not even talking sexual. Just like, let's say someone's arm got cut in half. I post that. They showed you the arm getting cut in half, how it got cut in half, what it looked like after it got cut in half, the inside of it, the outside of it, all it. But my post of an arm getting cut in half will get deleted, and theirs won't. That doesn't make any sense. Some of the stuff gets posted with the explicit counter, you know, like, oh, you shouldn't see this if you're a minor. Click here if you have the balls to watch this. Like, why don't you just add that to every post that's a little over the top, right? Your censorship of your own website is the real issue. Privacy aside, right? You've already messed that up. I'm not worried about that no more. We know we're all screwed with Facebook and privacy. You trying to fix it now is a last-ditch effort, right? It's like having the power of hindsight instead of foresight. Where like now you're like, we should have done this rather than actually preventing the issue from happening. So forget that. Your current issue is censorship. Facebook, fix your censorship. You're on the freaking internet where porn is available, and even they stopped asking whether you're 18 or not. Let us post. Let us live, Facebook. Let us live. Yeah! Thank you. And on that note, we're going to our last commercial break, and we're going to come back to Fans of the Week and the reviews you've been waiting for.
I got a million things to tell you, okay? Remember when you said we shouldn't be together? Well, let me tell you that wasn't all that cool, cause I almost gave up on the thought of you and me forever. And okay, let me calm down, cause that doesn't matter now. But I'm still like, okay, hey, why you got a clown throwing love around like it's a game, like I'm one to be played? Well, okay, but anyway, you say you're here to stay, okay? Just so you know, someone about took your place, okay? So I just wanted to say, you're lucky I had faith, cause we weren't okay until I made us okay.
I met a girl, she was smooth, talking smooth, walking after everything I say. Oh, she wants me. Oh, she was a dime, but I couldn't imagine making her mine. When I see it, I see your face. I always knew it would be hard to replace you. But it's fine, it's okay, it's okay. You will always have your place, we'll be okay. Okay, 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 okay. We'll be okay, okay, okay. You slipped up, but I caught you. You'll always be worth it, baby girl, you're perfect. And don't you worry about a thing, nothing with us has changed, Angel, we're still the same. Okay, okay. There's nothing left to prove, no, there's nothing left I can do. Now you finally see, I choose you and not me. Oh, our love won't fade, we'll be okay. Okay, 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 okay. We'll be okay, okay, okay. We'll be okay, even though I go numb. still have faith, we're still okay. And don't you draw a line, oh you know we're fine. No need to waste time, we're okay. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. We'll be okay. Okay, okay. Okay, 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 oh, okay, okay. Okay, okay, okay. Oh, we're okay. You know we're okay. We're okay. Oh, we're okay.
Alright, and we're back. So, couple different movies and shows to kind of talk about. So first we're going to start off with the obvious, Captain Marvel, right? Now, before the movie came out, I looked at what some of the other critics were talking about, and they were saying, oh, this is one of the worst Marvel movies, it's no Black Panther, this, that. First off, setting Black Panther as a scale for a Marvel movie, that automatically, you guys are retarded. Just retarded. That is one of the most overhyped and crappiest of the Marvel movies, if you ask me. Just definitively crappy. But Captain Marvel on its own, I can honestly say the beginning of the movie, despite having action sequences, was not working. They did too much, right? There's a lot happening in the beginning of this movie where her memory is splotchy. So scenes are kind of cut in and out between what she's trying to remember, what she can remember, what's actually happening, and it's confusing, right? And that alone is the flaw of this movie, the beginning of this movie, and trying to just make sense of it. Because I know for me, especially since I was tired, that was not helping. The fact that it was just not linear. I hate when stuff isn't linear, and I have to overthink when I don't want to think. So that was a problem. But midway into the ending of this movie is quite a fun, entertaining ride. There's this kind of alluded lesbianic relationship between her and her best friend. Loved that. That was dope. There should have been more of that. Instead of an illusion, that should have definitely been, like, the thing. But, other than that, an adorable child actress. Samuel Jackson being young in the movie was hilarious the entire time. You know, the origin story of his eye, the Flurkin. Oh man, wait till you meet the Flurkin. And a whole bunch of really good action sequences. I think the only thing about the movie is that the ending action scenes probably aren't as good as even some of the ones in the beginning. They're just kind of enough to move along the story. So, man, on that front. The movie is a solid 3.5 out of 5. I will say it is not the expectation for a Marvel movie, especially after you have Infinity Wars going into Endgame, but it is a movie worth watching, folks. I don't necessarily think you need to see it in the theater. It's not necessarily even one of those dark, kind of gritty movies 90% of the time where I would tell you to see it just to see it that way. It's just, you know, it's Marvel, so show your love, give them some money. That's the only reason I would say to see it in the theater. Most of the Marvel stuff is hitting Netflix at some point in time. You can take your time with it. Yeah, I would say you'd want to see it before Infinity Wars. I mean, the one thing about the Marvel movies that's great are the extra scenes. The extra scenes at this movie are so freaking predictable that the first one, of course, we saw it coming. Like, the big ooh was like, no, duh, there's a reason why you're doing this movie before Endgame. Like, duh. The second scene, which is normally in relation to the individual film, and normally really short, the guy sitting in front of me literally says, huh, watch you be the cat. And it was! I'm like, I'm not ruining anything for you, because it was so obvious what they were going to go and hint at, that it was kind of really, like, okay, whatever. Like, I was a little mad that I actually stayed after the credits. So, 3.5 out of 5. You can wait for it to hit Netflix. Now, speaking of Netflix, there are two things that I think are must-watch on Netflix. So the first is a comedy routine from 2018 that I just peeped out called Jim Jeffries' This Is Me Now, right? He's this really brash UK comedian who, I mean, in all honesty, he has no filter, and I love it. I mean, he even makes a joke about like miscarriages, and you can't help but like ooh, and that ooh turns from a ooh into a laughter because of how he does it and what he does with it. Like he's really creative. He will go past boundary lines, and it's really fun to watch him as he tries to, you know, explain who he is, his story, and you know, kind of how he's grown to the person he is today. Um, you know, like in the beginning, just taking shots at, you know, his old company, HBO, all this kind of stuff. Like he's just really fun guy, really fun comedian. I recommend everyone to watch this comedy special. Really good. Then the other thing was something that I just kind of came across randomly looking at stuff called Dating Around, right? So it's looking at 6 different people who are going to be going on 5 blind dates done at the same spot. The way that this is filmed is very unique for a dating show. They definitely chop up each and every date together. Some of the dates seem like they're taking place at the same time, and they're not. They're taking place like, you know, over the course of the same week. And the end goal is for the main dater to pick someone from the 5 for a second date, right? That's the whole premise. But it's not done like a game show. It's not done like blind date. It's not done like anything that I've ever seen before. It was really unique. It was kind of artistic. I thought it was a really interesting way to look at people dating, because one of the most interesting things I find about dating personally is how often you have to reiterate yourself, right? When you talk about yourself, you talk about the same stuff. So seeing the character have to explain themselves the same way to people, and then watching the different reactions is so interesting because it's so real. Like you can relate to it. This show is a 4 out of 5. Definitely give it a watch. It was really, really interesting, really creative. You got, you know, gay couples, straight couples, old couples, young couples. Like it was a really fun, interesting story. I think the most interesting one for me was actually the second one, because of the fact that it seemed like they matched her with people who were so much younger than her, and the whole experience for her, trying to like see stuff from her perspective. One, it's interesting for me when I find that I'm interested when the female is the one dating, because as a male, it's a lot more annoying when you personally don't like that. That's not the person I would kind of date, and have to watch their story. And she was that for me, but it was because some of the guys that she were dating seemed like such interesting people. I wanted to find out if she would like any of them. It was really awkward. Like, it's an awkward experience, but definitely watch the show. It's so cool, so different. And it's not the typical dating show at all that I think, even if you don't watch dating shows, you would like this completely, because it's so well done, like the way that it's directed and spliced together. It's perfect. But the last thing was I watched a show called The Order, right? And it's a story about mages and werewolves. Not typical at all. Way different. But done more in a very lighthearted comedy way, which is really weird too. It feels like more of a comedy than a drama, more about the jokes than the magic. And I couldn't help but actually sit there, and I watched the entire thing over the course of a day, wondering where I even found the time to do it, because I was pretty busy that day. But it just kind of was just playing in the background. It just kept grabbing my attention from what other things I was supposed to be doing. Give it a watch. I mean, officially, I would have to give it a 3 out of 5, just because like it really was really silly. But I think that's part of the appeal. So like, as a critic, 3 out of 5. As Will, like, I absolutely loved it, 5 out of 5. So give it a watch. Now, before we go, we're going to do our fans of the week, and I'm going to give you one piece of information that's actually a positive, because I felt like we were talking about a lot of depressing stuff today. So first, our first fan of the week is Warren Hamilton, who he's been following the Will's Review page for a little while. Now, he's been pretty active the last few weeks, so shout out to him, most active person this week. And from Instagram, we have Kiki, who was really active this week, and you'll be seeing her around and all the different stuff if you're able to actually be there, because she's usually behind the camera. But now and again, you'll hear her voice on XY101. And last but not least, our picture of the week is simply about not giving up, right? Life never gets easy. We just get stronger and we're able to actually deal with it, right? So a little bit of motivational feel, get there kind of, because life never gets easy. Even when life is easy for folks, because humans can never be satisfied, life is never easy. So understand that you just have to grow as a person. You got to be stronger, and you'll be able to face the tests that life throws at you. It's that simple, folks. Now, before we go, there is one piece of really interesting and good news. There may be an identical cure for HIV. So, there have been 2 people in this world who have been cleared of the virus, of the pre-AIDS virus, right? And what it's been that they're thinking cured them were bone marrow transplants from people who seem to have a resistance, like a certain set of antibodies set specifically that can fight HIV, right? There's certain people who just seem to be not necessarily immune, but it'd be hard for them to contract it. There's a limited number of ways for them to get it and a certain amount that needs to be put into them before their body would actually be infected. This bone marrow transplant took place for a gentleman in the UK 3 years ago, and monitoring him and looking at how he's proceeding and stuff like that, they recently said for sure that he has been cured of the virus. So now the UK brings hope to the rest of the world that perhaps everyone can be like Magic Johnson. So, because we don't know how the hell he's done doing it, but god damn it, he's done it. We may not be clear to the virus, but that thing is receded like crazy. But no, 2 people legitimately have been cured of HIV, and it means that there is now hope for anyone else who's contracted it, who may, be in the future may contract it, for them to be saved from this virus that has literally taken the world by storm the last 30 years and seems almost near impossible to cure. I think the only thing that scared people more than HIV in the last 30 years is cancer itself. Am I not wrong? So science is one step forward in the right direction. We may have an idea. It doesn't sound like it's an easy process. It doesn't sound like it's a short process, but it sounds like a process that can be done. And the fact that it can be done may lead to a faster, may lead to more accessible things, because once they figure out exactly how the bone marrow thing and then why the body takes it the way it does and certain things about it, eventually, that stuff's going to become a pill. That's just how stuff works in this world. There's going to be a pill made out of bone or some nonsense like that, and boom, like, you're done. You're going to be popping pills to cure HIV the same way you do to help with your syphilis. Like, it's just how things work in this world. It's time, it's trial and error, but it happens. And the fact that if they can cure HIV, maybe eventually we will have some stuff that'll stop and destroy cancer completely. Maybe, I don't know. And on that note, this has been another episode of Will's Review. I'm your host, Will D. I'll catch you guys next time. What, Optimus Prime is in the room now?